Most men think compliments are simple, but the wrong words make you invisible, while the right ones can make her feel addicted to you. That's the brutal truth. Think about it. How many times have you seen a guy tell a woman she's beautiful, or that her dress looks nice, and nothing happens? She smiles politely, maybe says thank you, but there's no spark. Why? Because every other man has already said the same thing. The average compliment is cheap. It doesn't reach her. It doesn't stay in her mind. Here's where most men get frustrated. They want to say something that matters, but when they open their mouth, it comes out flat, predictable, forgettable. And once she files you into that category, it's hard to climb out. But here's what almost no one tells you. A compliment isn't about flattering her surface. It's about showing her that you see deeper than anyone else. It's about touching the parts of her she tries to hide. When you do it right, it doesn't just make her smile, it makes her think of you long after you've gone. That's attraction psychology. That's power. In this video, I'll give you the exact compliments that go past her defenses and stir something real inside her. These aren't lines. They're signals that separate you from the noise. Let's get into it. Number 1. Her scent that lingers. There's something powerful about scent. It's invisible, untouchable, yet it has the ability to pull you back into a memory you thought you'd forgotten. One whiff of a familiar fragrance, and suddenly you're transported to a place, a time, a person. Women know this instinctively. That's why perfume counters exist, why she takes her time choosing what to wear. But here's the truth most men miss. When you notice her scent and you let her know, you're reaching into her subconscious in a way most guys never do. Now, I'm not talking about saying, "Oh, you smell good." That's flat, generic, meaningless. Every guy can say that, and it fades into the noise. I'm talking about making her feel that her scent has an effect on you, that it lingers in your mind even when she's gone. That's where the compliment becomes more than words. It becomes an experience. Take Michael, 44, who recently started dating again after a divorce. He told me about a night out with a woman named Sarah, 41, who worked in marketing. They were at a jazz lounge, low lighting, soft music. As she leaned in to tell him something, he caught the faint trace of her perfume, subtle, not overpowering. Later in the night, instead of blurting out something cliché, he leaned closer and said, "You know, I'll remember this scent tomorrow morning." She froze for a second, smiled, and touched his arm. That wasn't just a compliment, it was an imprint. It told her she had reached him in a way other women hadn't. Psychology backs this up. Scents bypass logic and hit the emotional brain directly. Complimenting her scent connects you to that part of her. It says you're tuned in, you notice the details, and you're present. It makes her feel not just attractive, but unforgettable. From a Stoic perspective, this is about intention. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In the same way, your words should be colored with purpose. When you compliment her scent, don't do it to flatter aimlessly. Do it because you mean it, because it genuinely stirred something in you. That's what makes the difference between a line and a moment. Notice also what happens after you give this kind of compliment. She becomes more self-aware, but in a good way. She thinks, "He noticed something no one else notices." That's intimacy. That's how you move past the surface. Let's get real. Most men will focus only on what they see. They'll comment on her looks, her outfit, maybe her hair. But her scent, that's invisible territory. When you cross into it with authenticity, you're showing her you perceive beyond the obvious. You're showing her you're not like the others. So the next time you're with her, pay attention. When she leaves the room, and you can still sense her presence in the air, tell her. When she hugs you goodbye, and the scent stays on your shirt, let her know. It's subtle, it's masculine, and it works. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever given a compliment about her scent that got a reaction you didn't expect? Drop it in the comments. I noticed deeply. And remember, this is just the beginning. The kind of compliment we just talked about creates an invisible connection. But what comes next digs even deeper into the way women respond, something most men never figure out until it's too late. Stick with me, because you'll regret missing it. Number 2. A smile that lights up. There's something magnetic about a smile. Not the polite one, not the one she gives out of habit, but the smile that lights up her entire face, shifts the room, and makes everyone around her feel different. That kind of smile has power. And here's the truth: when you notice it, when you call it out the right way, it becomes more than a compliment. It becomes a mirror. It tells her, this is who you are when you're at your best, and I see it. Most men never think past the obvious. They'll say, you have a nice smile. It's safe, it's generic, and because it's generic, it lands flat. Women hear it all the time, and it doesn't stick. But when you frame her smile as energy, as something that changes the environment, suddenly you're not talking about teeth or lips. You're talking about presence, and presence is unforgettable. Think about this. A genuine smile is one of the hardest things to fake. It signals joy, comfort, trust. Complimenting her smile isn't about praising her appearance, it's about acknowledging the effect she has. It's about telling her that she has the ability to shift the emotional climate just by being herself. That's rare. That's powerful. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca wrote, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." A smile is the simplest expression of that kindness. When you highlight it, you're not flattering her, you're honoring the way she makes the world a little lighter. And when you say it with calm confidence, you're reminding her of her impact, something that lingers longer than surface-level praise ever could. Here's the brutal truth. Average men compliment features. Strong men compliment effects. One makes her feel like an object. The other makes her feel like a force. Which one do you think she'll remember? Now, let's talk about delivery. You don't need to gush. You don't need to analyze it like a poem. It's as simple as saying, that smile could shift a room. Short, clean, masculine, let it land, and then move on. That's what makes it work. Because you're not just noticing, you're showing her. You're not desperate for approval. And watch what happens. She'll feel it. Not just because you said something nice, but because you showed her you're tuned in to her effect on the world. That recognition makes her feel more valuable, more unique. And when a woman feels unique with you, she begins to associate that feeling with you. That's how attraction deepens without force. Let's bring it back to psychology. When you point out her smile in this way, you're anchoring her joy to your presence. The next time she feels that same spark of joy, even when you're not there, her mind will loop back to you. That's how memory works. That's how desire takes root. So here's what you need to remember. Don't just compliment her smile as a physical feature. See it as energy, frame it as presence, and deliver it with calm certainty. That's when it becomes unforgettable. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever seen a woman's smile shift the whole atmosphere and felt compelled to say something? Share it below. I honor presence. And here's the thing, what we've covered so far is only scratching the surface. The deeper we go, the more you'll realize how small details, when noticed with intention, separate you from every other man she meets. Stay with me, because walking away now would mean missing insights that change the way women respond to you forever. Number 3, the courage of her truth. Every woman has a truth she carries. It might be a belief she holds, a story she's lived through, or a piece of herself she doesn't always reveal right away. And when she has the courage to show you that truth, even in small doses, it's not something you should overlook. Most men do. They brush past it. They chase surface-level beauty and miss the depth that makes her who she is. But if you're the man who sees it, and more importantly, acknowledges it, you create a bond that hits her deeper than any ordinary compliment ever could. Let's make this real. David, 47, works in finance. After years of short-lived relationships, he started dating Anna, 42. a school counselor. One evening over dinner, Anna shared a story about how she grew up in a chaotic home but still managed to put herself through college. David didn't rush to change the subject. He didn't minimize her story. He looked her in the eye and said, "That took guts. Most people would have folded, but you didn't." Anna didn't just smile, she paused, her eyes softened, and she leaned in closer. Why? Because she felt seen in a way most men never made her feel. Compliments like this go beyond appearance. They acknowledge the bravery it takes to live authentically. Women want to be admired for beauty, yes, but what they crave even more is recognition for their strength, their resilience, their truth. And when you highlight that, you separate yourself from the endless line of men who only notice the obvious. From a psychological perspective, this hits her need for significance. People don't just want to be liked, they want to be understood. When you acknowledge her truth, you're telling her she matters not for the mask she wears, but for the courage it takes to take it off. That's rare, and rare is magnetic. And here's where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When you compliment a woman on the courage of her truth, you're echoing this principle. You're saying that what makes her stand out is not just what she's been through, but the way she chose to respond. That acknowledgement affirms her resilience and, at the same time, reminds you of what kind of woman you're dealing with, one who has strength beneath the surface. This kind of compliment doesn't need to be long or dramatic. It can be as simple as, "I admire how you handled that," or "That took real strength." Delivered calmly, with sincerity, it lands with weight. Because you're not flattering her, you're validating her. And that validation makes her want to give you more of her truth, to trust you with parts of herself she doesn't show just anyone. Notice how different this is from empty praise. Empty praise is cheap. It fades. Real recognition builds connection. It tells her she's with a man who pays attention, who values more than appearance, who respects the fight it takes to live honestly. And that respect, that's where desire grows. So here's my question to you. Have you ever acknowledged a woman's strength in the middle of her story instead of just moving past it? Share it in the comments. I see strength. And remember this, recognizing her courage doesn't just make her feel good, it draws her closer to you. Because when a woman realizes you value the parts of her most men ignore, she doesn't want to let go of that feeling. And trust me, the insights that are coming next will open your eyes even more. Miss them, and you'll miss the chance to shift how women respond to you forever. Number 4. How she sees the world. A woman's beauty might catch your eye, but it's how she sees the world that keeps your attention. Every woman filters life through her own experiences, beliefs, and hopes. Some see the world as heavy, filled with problems. Others see possibility, opportunity, light in unexpected places. When you notice the lens she looks through and you compliment that you're touching the part of her identity most men never reach, here's the mistake most men make. They compliment her looks, her style, her body, all surface level. It's easy. It takes no thought, no depth. But when you tell her, "I like the way you see things," or "the way you explained," that shows how unique your perspective is. You're speaking to her mind, not just her appearance. And that is what separates a forgettable compliment from a magnetic one. Psychologists will tell you that validation of perspective hits deeper than validation of beauty. Beauty fades, but perspective is built over years of living, failing, trying again, and learning. When you compliment her worldview, you're acknowledging her life story without needing to know every detail. You're telling her, "I notice the way your mind works, and I value it." That's intimacy at a higher level. The Stoics remind us of this wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." When you admire how she sees the world, you're not just recognizing her, it also reflects your own strength as a man. You're showing that you can appreciate a perspective without needing to argue, dominate, or correct. That calm confidence makes her trust you more. Think about how rare this is. Most men ignore a woman's opinions unless they agree with them. They dismiss or debate. But the man who listens and says, "That's an interesting way to look at it," or "You make me think differently," is a man she can't forget. Because he's not only hearing her words, he's valuing her way of thinking. And for many women, that validation is more attractive than anything you could say about her body. Complimenting her perspective also creates an opening. It tells her it's safe to share more of herself with you. She'll reveal deeper thoughts, stronger beliefs, and parts of her personality most men never get to see. That's when the connection deepens and attraction transforms into attachment. But remember this, the power of the compliment comes from sincerity. If you fake it, if you just repeat something you heard here without truly paying attention, she'll feel it. Women can sense when words are empty. But when you genuinely notice her perspective and acknowledge it, it lands with weight. This is how you shift from being one of many to being the man who sees her. And when she feels seen, she'll keep coming back for more of that feeling. So let me ask you, have you ever noticed a woman's perspective and let her know it made you see things differently? Drop it below. I value depth. And don't forget, what we've covered so far is just the start. The more you learn to complement what most men miss, the stronger your presence becomes. And what's coming next will reveal another level of attraction that most men never figure out. Stay with me, you don't want to miss it. Number 5. Energy that lifts you higher. Some women have a kind of energy that makes the air around them lighter. You walk into a room with her and it feels different. The mood shifts, tension eases, and suddenly you feel more alive. That's not something you see, it's something you feel. And when you notice it, when you compliment her for it, you're doing more than pointing out a trait. You're telling her that who she is makes the world better, even if she doesn't realize it herself. Most men don't go there. They stay on the surface. You're fun to be around. You've got a nice vibe. Those words are bland, predictable, and empty. But when you tell her, "You have a presence that makes everything lighter," or "Your energy makes me want to push harder and be better," you're speaking to the unseen force she brings into your life. That's what she remembers. Take Mike, 45, an architect from Denver. He'd been dating Rachel, 40, who worked as a nurse. One evening after a long week, Mike admitted he was drained, close to burnout. Rachel didn't lecture him, didn't fix his problems. She just sat with him, laughed about little things, and reminded him that life was more than deadlines. Mike later told her, "Being around you makes me breathe easier." That single sentence hit her harder than any compliment about her looks ever had. Why? Because he was acknowledging her impact, not her surface. He was telling her that her presence lifted him in ways no one else could. From a psychological perspective, this matters more than you think. People crave significance. They want to know they're not just filling space, but actually changing the environment around them. When you complement her energy, you're confirming her power to influence not through force, but through being. That's addictive. That's why she'll keep replaying your words in her mind long after you've said them. The Stoics would have understood this. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If her thoughts, her outlook, her essence bring you strength, telling her so affirms that her inner world matters. And here's the key, it also shows her that you, as a man, are strong enough to recognize influence without losing yourself in it. That balance is what makes you stand out. But here's the part most men don't realize. Complementing her energy doesn't make you weaker, it makes you more masculine, because it takes a secure man to say, "Your presence adds something to my life." Insecure men hide behind silence, afraid it sounds like dependence. Strong men know that acknowledging her light doesn't dim their own, it magnifies it. And when she hears that from you, it shifts her. She starts to associate herself with your growth, your peace, your strength. She'll crave being around you more, because deep down, every woman wants to know she's not just seen, but felt. So let me ask you, have you ever told a woman her energy changed your day, not her looks or her outfit, but the way she made you feel stronger, lighter, more alive? Share it in the comments. I feel lifted. And pay attention, because the further we go, the more you'll realize that these compliments aren't about words, they're about impact. Miss what's coming, and you'll miss the chance to speak to a part of her most men don't even know exists. Stick with me, this gets deeper. Number 6. A heart that actually cares. In today's world, it's easy to find beauty. Scroll through social media and you'll see endless faces, endless filters, endless attention seeking. But what's rare, the thing that cuts through all of that noise, is a heart that truly cares. When you meet a woman who shows kindness not for recognition, not to get something in return, but because it's in her nature, that's when you've found something extraordinary. And when you compliment her for that, you make her feel valued for more than her appearance. You tell her you see her soul. Most men overlook this. They notice the smile, the style, the curves, but they don't take the time to notice the little acts of care. The way she checks in when you're quiet. The way she remembers something you mentioned weeks ago and brings it up later. The way she softens when she sees someone else hurting. Those aren't surface traits, they're glimpses of a deeper quality. A woman with a heart that cares is powerful, and when you acknowledge it, you remind her that compassion is her most magnetic quality. From a psychological perspective, this goes straight to the core of human connection. Everyone wants to feel appreciated, not just for what they show the world, but for the intentions behind their actions. When you say, "I respect how much you care," or "the way you treat people makes you different," you're hitting a part of her identity most men ignore. You're telling her, "I don't just see you, I understand what makes you valuable." The Stoics had a way of grounding this truth. Seneca once said, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." When you compliment a woman's kindness, you're recognizing that she chooses compassion in a world that often chooses indifference. That choice isn't weakness, it's strength. And by noticing it, you align yourself with the kind of man who values depth over appearance, substance over surface. But here's the twist. Complimenting her heart doesn't just make her feel good, it challenges her. It makes her want to live up to the version of herself you've noticed. It makes her want to keep being that woman in your presence. Because deep down, people rise to the expectations of those they respect. If you show her that you admire her heart, she'll strive to keep showing it to you. That's where attraction deepens into loyalty. This is rare, and that's why it matters. Most women don't hear men tell them, "I love how much you care." They hear about their looks, their bodies, their smile. And while those things are nice, they fade. What doesn't fade is the feeling of being recognized for something that is timeless, the courage to care in a world that's often cold. That's what makes you unforgettable in her eyes. So let me ask you, have you ever complimented a woman not for her appearance, not even for her intelligence, but for her compassion? Share it in the comments. Value kindness. And don't go anywhere. Because as strong as compassion is, there are other traits that, when you recognize them, unlock a level of attraction most men will never experience. Skip ahead and you'll miss it, but if you stay, you'll see exactly why these words carry so much weight. Number 7. Her fire for what she wants. There's something magnetic about a woman who knows what she wants. Not the kind of casual interest most people talk about, but real passion. When she talks about her goals, her dreams, the things that light her up inside, you see her energy change. Her eyes sharpen, her voice carries weight, and suddenly, she's not just attractive, she's unforgettable. That fire is one of the most powerful traits a woman can have, and when you compliment it, you're telling her you value her ambition as much as her beauty. Most men miss this. They'll compliment her appearance, her laugh, maybe her style. But they rarely take the time to say, "I admire how much passion you bring to what you do." And that's a mistake. Because a woman's fire is more than a personality trait, it's the essence of her drive. And when a man notices it, it makes her feel both respected and desired. Let me give you a real example. David, 52, runs his own contracting business in Chicago. He started seeing Lisa, 45, a fitness trainer. One night over dinner, Lisa started talking about why she got into her field. She spoke about watching her mother struggle with health and how she wanted to help people take control of their bodies before it was too late. David didn't just nod along, he looked her in the eyes and said, "I love how much passion you have for helping people. It makes me want to take better care of myself." That single compliment changed everything. Lisa felt seen not just as a woman he was dating, but as a woman with a mission, and that made her connection to David even deeper. This is the difference between attraction and admiration. Attraction might get her attention, but admiration makes her invest. When you tell her you respect her fire, you're not only showing interest, you're aligning yourself with her vision of who she wants to be. That's powerful. From a psychological standpoint, this works because people crave recognition for what matters most to them. When you highlight her passion, you're confirming that her drive, her effort, her commitment means something to someone else. And when that someone is you, a man she respects, it amplifies her desire to share more of that fire with you. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." The same is true for women. Her passion shows her worth, and when you admire it, you're not just boosting her confidence, you're telling her that her ambitions inspire you too. That creates a cycle of respect, attraction, and trust. But here's the key. Your compliment has to be real. If you only say it to sound smooth, she'll know. Women sense when you're faking it. So don't just say you admire her passion, show it. Ask questions, get curious, connect with the reason behind her fire. When she feels that, she won't just remember your words, she'll remember the way you made her feel. And that's what sets you apart. Because while most men stop at surface-level compliments, you're digging deeper. You're showing her that her inner drive is just as attractive as her outer beauty. That's what makes you the man she doesn't forget. Now let me ask you, have you ever told a woman you admire her passion and meant it? Drop it below. I admire passion. And listen carefully, because the deeper we go, the more you'll see that it's not about saying more, it's about saying the right words at the right time. Stick with me, because the next part will shift how you see this forever. Number 8. The wisdom she feels, not just knows. There's a difference between knowing something and carrying wisdom. Knowledge can be memorized, repeated, and even faked. But wisdom, the kind that makes you stop, think, and change the way you see the world, that comes from lived experience and a deep awareness that goes beyond words. When a woman has this kind of wisdom, you don't just hear it, you feel it. It's in her timing, her perspective, her ability to stay grounded when emotions run high. And when you compliment that, you strike a part of her that most men never acknowledge. Why does this matter? Because most women are used to being complimented for their beauty or charm. Some may even hear compliments about their intelligence, but wisdom is different. Wisdom is rare, and when you notice it, you're telling her that you see something deeper than her surface or her quick wit. You're telling her that her lived perspective carries weight, and that makes her feel valued in a way that is unforgettable. Think about the way she responds when you're stressed. She doesn't overreact. She doesn't try to control the situation. She gives you space, or she says one sentence that cuts straight to the heart of the problem. That's wisdom. Or notice how she frames her decisions. Instead of chasing immediate pleasure, she considers long-term outcomes, not just for herself, but for those around her. That's not just knowledge, that's awareness shaped into wisdom. The Stoics had a clear view of this. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That's wisdom in action. A woman who carries this truth inside her isn't shaken by small inconveniences. She's steady, calm, and her presence anchors you when life feels like it's spinning. Complimenting her for that is more than flattery, it's respect. It's saying, I see the strength in the way you handle life. And few things resonate more deeply than that. From a psychological perspective, this strikes at the core of what people crave: recognition for what makes them unique. When you notice her wisdom, you separate yourself from men who only see her body or her style. You show her that you're aware of the substance that shapes her choices and the quiet influence she carries. That's the kind of recognition that makes her not just attracted to you, but invested in you. Here's the key though. Your compliment has to connect to her actions, not abstract ideas. Don't just say, you're wise. Say, I respect how you handle challenges without losing your calm. Or, the way you think ahead shows a strength I admire. This kind of detail proves you're paying attention, and it shows her you value her more than the surface. And when you speak it, it's not just her mind that responds, it's her heart. Because wisdom is something she feels too. She knows it's not always glamorous, not always easy, but it's who she is. And when you reflect that back to her, it makes her want to bring more of that into your life. So let me ask you, have you ever told a woman you admire the way she carries wisdom, not just knowledge? Share it in the comments. I honor wisdom. And here's something you don't want to miss. Because as deep as wisdom runs, there are other qualities that, once you learn to recognize and speak to them, can change the way women experience you forever. If you walk away now, you'll miss it. Stay, because what's next has the power to shift the entire game. Number 9. The rare way she makes a room better. There are women who walk into a room and barely get noticed. And then there are women who walk in, and suddenly the whole space feels lighter. The air shifts, conversations perk up, and people can't help but pay attention. It's not always about beauty, status, or what she's wearing. It's about energy, the rare ability to make a room better just by being in it. Most men never think to compliment this. They'll notice her hair, her body, maybe her style, but they miss the bigger picture. They miss the way her presence changes the environment. And yet, when you point it out, when you say something like, I like how people seem happier when you're around, you're highlighting a quality so rare, it feels almost sacred. You're telling her she's more than attractive. She's impactful. Let me give you a real example. Michael, 48, works as an architect in Austin. He's been dating Jenna, 44, a school counselor. Michael noticed that whenever Jenna attended his firm's events, people gravitated toward her. She didn't dominate conversations. She didn't try to be the center of attention, but her warmth drew people in. Even his colleagues, who were usually distant, opened up when she was near. One evening, Michael leaned in and said, You have this rare gift. You make the whole room feel better just by being here. Jenna's eyes softened. No man had ever said that to her. It wasn't about how she looked, it was about how she felt to others. That compliment deepened their bond in ways surface-level flattery never could. Psychologically, this works because it affirms her value in a way that connects to her identity, not just her appearance. It says, You matter, and your presence has weight. Women, like men, want to feel significant. When you notice her unique impact on others, you're separating yourself from the crowd of men who only notice her body. You're showing her that you see her spirit. And here's the deeper layer. When you recognize this, you're not only complimenting her, you're aligning yourself with her energy. You're saying, I feel better when you're here too. That's intimacy without needing to spell it out. That's attraction built on respect and awareness. But it only works if it's real. Don't say it just to sound smooth. Pay attention. Notice the subtle ways she changes the space. Maybe her laugh lightens the mood. Maybe her calmness steadies the people around her. Maybe her enthusiasm inspires others to open up. Whatever it is, speak to that. That's when your words land. This is where many men fail. They focus on what's obvious instead of what's rare. They give her compliments she's already heard 100 times instead of the one she's secretly craving. And because of that, they stay forgettable. But when you highlight the rare way she makes a room better, you're telling her she's unforgettable. So let me ask you, have you ever noticed how a woman changes the atmosphere just by being there? Write it below. I notice presence. And here's the thing, you've come this far, but the journey isn't over. The final part ties everything together and shows you how the right compliment can do more than spark attraction. It can leave an imprint she carries with her forever. If you stop now, you'll miss it. Stay, because what's next is the one you don't want to overlook. Number 10. The woman who leaves a mark inside you. Every man has met someone unforgettable. Maybe it was years ago, maybe it was recent, but the memory is still alive. Not because she was the most beautiful woman you'd ever seen, not because she had the perfect body or the flashiest style, but because she left something deeper, something that stayed long after she was gone. That's the mark a woman can leave inside you. And here's the truth most men miss. When you recognize this in a woman and you put it into words, it doesn't just flatter her, it validates her deepest hope. Because every woman secretly wonders, will I be remembered? Will my presence matter beyond the moment? When you tell her that she has left a mark on you, you're telling her she's not temporary, she's permanent. Even if life moves on. That's rare, and it's powerful. But let's be clear, this isn't about saying dramatic things or trying to sound poetic. It's about being real. Maybe she helped you see yourself in a better light. Maybe her words came at the exact moment you needed them. Maybe the way she looked at you made you believe in yourself when you doubted everything. Those moments don't fade, and when you acknowledge them, you touch her in a place that no shallow compliment ever could. Think of it like this. Attraction is about the body. Connection is about the heart. But leaving a mark? That's about the soul. It's what lingers when she's not around. It's what makes you compare other people to her without even realizing it. And when you say something like, "You've made a difference in how I see things," you're giving her the kind of recognition that every woman craves but almost never hears. The Stoics often spoke about influence, how the mark we leave on others defines the legacy of our lives. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What we do now echoes in eternity." That applies here too. The way she's shaped you, guided you, or simply inspired you, it echoes. When you point that out, you're not just paying her a compliment, you're elevating her role in your story. And here's why it matters. Most men keep their compliments on the surface, afraid to go deeper. They fear sounding too vulnerable, too honest. But when you go there, when you acknowledge the invisible impact she's had, you're stepping into a level of connection that sets you apart. You're telling her she's not just someone you noticed, she's someone you'll never forget. This doesn't mean you have to exaggerate or invent meaning. The beauty of this compliment is that it works best when it's authentic. Maybe it was the way she laughed at your worst joke, and in that moment, you realized you could relax and be yourself. Maybe it was the way she stood by you in silence when you were hurting, and you didn't need words because her presence was enough. Those are the things that leave marks, and those are the things worth naming. When you recognize her for leaving a mark inside you, you're doing more than making her smile. You're giving her a piece of immortality. You're telling her that even if nothing lasts forever, what she gave you will. And that's the kind of compliment that doesn't just make her fall for you, it makes her respect you, trust you, and want more of you. So remember this, compliment her beauty, yes. Admire her energy, yes. But when you tell her she has left a mark that still lives inside you, you're giving her something unforgettable in return. And that's what separates men. She forgets from the man she never will. So now you see it, compliments aren't just words, they're keys. The right ones don't just make her smile, they make her feel seen, remembered, and desired in ways most men will never understand. You've learned how to go deeper than surface flattery, how to touch her heart, her spirit, even her soul. That's the difference between being forgotten tomorrow and being the man she carries with her for years. If you found value in this, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Every day, we break down the psychology, the philosophy, and the real tools you can use to become stronger, wiser, and more unforgettable. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.